And we are back. NFL Week 18 predictions. Last week I ended up going a whopping 13-3, making my season total 175 wins and 81 losses. Now the key thing to note, the games I got wrong were the Cardinals Rams, Colts Giants, and Chiefs Steelers. But the big thing is the Colts Giants. The Colts were my lock of the week, which I did get wrong. So I am now 14-3. So, yeah. But we're going to get right into it. I will have a few things to talk about at the very end, so stay tuned to that. We're going to start out with the January 4th. That's today, actually, as I'm recording this. 4:30 p.m., we have the Browns, who are 13-3, at the Ravens, who are 11-5. Now, the Browns, they're coming off of yet another loss, this time at the hands of Miami Dolphins, 20-3, while the Ravens, quite the opposite, coming off of another win. This one on Christmas, 31-2 against the Texans. And there are big implications for this game for the Ravens. With a win, they would lock up not only the division, but the number 3 seed in the AFC. With a loss, they are in jeopardy of dropping to the number 5 seed, depending on what happens with the Steelers, who are next, so we'll talk about them. However, I don't think they have to worry too much because I do have them winning. And not only that, we're going to get it right out of the way. The Ravens are my lock of the week. So, we're going to quickly talk about that. Lock of the week. This is the final time you'll have to hear me talk about it. Don't worry. For the season, at least. Every week I get to pick one team and one team only to win their game. If they win, great. If they don't, not so great. The only catch is I'm only allowed to pick each team once. So, yeah. And congrats to the Ravens for being the final team to make the list. So, yeah, give me the Ravens as my lock of the week and everything. Moving on to 8 p.m., I forgot to mention all games are in Eastern Standard Time. We have the 8-8 Bengals at the 10-6 Steelers. The Bengals coming off of a 30-24 overtime win over the Broncos, which keeps their playoff hopes alive. While the Steelers, quite the opposite, coming off of a 29-10 loss to the Chiefs on Christmas, which really puts their, seeding in jeopardy because the Steelers can do a few things. If they win and the Ravens lose, they jump to the 3 seed. If they win and the Ravens win, they stay at the 5 seed. They're currently at the 5 seed. If they lose and the Chargers win, they drop to the 6 seed. So the Steelers can really end up this season at the 3, 5, or 6 seed. Thankfully for them, they've already clinched their playoff spot. However, I do have the Cincinnati Bengals winning this game, so they better hope the Chargers lose, or else they could be going against the Ravens again. That would be a really great wild card game. Moving on to our next team, we have the Panthers, who are 4-12, at the Falcons, who are 8-8. The Panthers coming off of, I want to say a win, but I'm not entirely positive. No, they lost 48-14. I was thinking of last week. While the Falcons coming off of another overtime loss, we just talked about one. 30-24, same exact score, same everything. Now, the key thing to note here is the Panthers are eliminated. And the Falcons are fighting for a playoff spot. The big implications are that the Falcons can't actually make the wild card, but they can win their division. And if they do make it, they will be at the 4 seed. They need to win, and they need the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to lose their game. Unfortunately for them, I think they will get the first step done. I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons. Moving on to our next game, we have Texans and Titans. Texans 9-7 at Titans 3-13. Both teams coming off of losses. The Texans 31-2 on Christmas, so good for them. And the Titans 20-13 against the Jaguars. Now, the key thing to note for this game is the Titans are eliminated, and the Texans have already clinched the 4 seed. They cannot do better or worse, so I'm feeling pretty confident they are going to rest their starters. With that being said, I'm going to pick the Tennessee Titans because the Titans, well, you don't rest your starters when you don't have anything to play for playoff-wise. You're fighting for the number 1 pick. You aren't going to rest your starters or else, the league's going to look at you really funny. So give me the Titans. Giants and Eagles. Giants, who are 3-13. Eagles, who are 13-3, so flip the records. The Giants coming off of an amazing 45-33 win over the Colts, while the Eagles coming off of a 41-7 win over the Cowboys. Now, the key thing to note here as well is the Giants, same situation as the team we just talked about, the Titans, is they are eliminated from the playoffs. And the Eagles, same situation as the Texans, where they have already locked up the 2 seed. They cannot do better or worse. So with that being said, the Eagles are probably going to be resting their starters. However, I still think the Eagles are going to win this game because the Eagles have one of the best rosters to where I believe even their backups would be good enough to beat the Giants. Moving on to our next game, we have the Jaguars, who are 4-12, at the Colts, who are 8-8. Both teams eliminated from the playoffs. The Jaguars coming off of a 20-13 win over the Titans, while the Colts got eliminated with a 45-33 loss to the Giants. Now, I am going to take the Colts to win this game because I believe the Colts ultimately have a better coach, which when I believe the Jaguars have a better roster. I think that's going to be the tiebreaker, or the decider is who is the better coach. So give me Dane Steichen and the Indianapolis Colts. Moving on to our next one, we have the Commanders, who are 11-5, at Cowboys, who are 7-9. The Commanders coming off of a 30-24 win over the Falcons, which punched their ticket into the postseason, while the Cowboys coming off of a 41-7 loss, which they were already eliminated going into this week, so it didn't really matter. The key thing to note for this game, however, is the Commanders can finish with the 7 or 6 seed. They are currently the 6 seed. If they win, they get the 6 seed. However, a loss and a Green Bay Packers win would knock them down to the 7 seed. With that being said, I don't think they have to worry too much either, as I'm going to take the Commanders. Moving on to our next one, we have the Bears and Packers. The Bears 4-12. They come off of a loss, 6-3, by the way, horrible game, to the Seahawks. Wow. The Packers come off of a 27-25 loss to the Vikings. Now, the key thing to note is we just talked about the Commanders. The Packers currently at the 7th seed. They're going to need to win and the Commanders lose in order to get that 6th seed. If either the Commanders win or the Packers lose, they are going to be the 7th seed. I do have the Packers winning, but if my predictions stand true, it's ultimately not going to matter. Next, we have the Saints, who are 5-11, at Buccaneers, who are 9-7. The Saints coming off of a 25-10 loss to the Raiders, while the Buccaneers coming off of a really good 48-14 win over the Panthers. Yet again, more playoff implications. The Buccaneers have not clinched their spot. With a win, they will be in and lock up the number 4 seed. They can only get in through their division. If they lose and the Atlanta Falcons win, they are out. So this is a battle for the 4 seed and the NFC South. The Buccaneers can theoretically get the 3 seed with a win and a Rams loss as well, but I think they should be more worried about making it in before you care about seeding. So I'm taking the Buccaneers. I mean, they're going to be in. Next, we have Bills at Patriots. Bills, who are 13-3, coming off of a good win. Key thing for them is they are locked in at the 2 seed. They can't do better. They can't do worse. They're probably going to rest their starters. While the Patriots, 3-13, they are eliminated from the playoffs, coming off of yet again another loss. Like I said, the key thing is the Bills are probably going to be resting their starters, so this is a really favorable matchup for the Patriots, I feel like, which is who I'm going to take the win because, well, sorry, Bills, I don't know how good your backups really are. So, yeah. Plus, I really like the Patriots. They've been playing really well against good teams. They just have not been able to turn those losses into wins. They've been losing a lot of games that they could have won. Our first 4-25 game, we have the Chargers, who are 10-6, at the Raiders, who are 4-12. The Chargers coming off of a win that punched their ticket into the postseason, while the Raiders, quite the opposite. They're 4-12. They got a win, 25-10 over the Saints, but they are out of it. The key thing to note is 1, draft position for the Raiders, and 2, seeding for the Chargers. The Raiders currently in contention for the number 1 overall pick, and the Chargers, with a win and a Steelers loss, will jump to the 5 seed. If they lose or the Steelers win, they stay at the 6. They can't drop below the 6 seed. They can't go higher than the 5 seed. I think the Chargers are going to win, which, if my predictions stand true, the Chargers would then jump the Steelers. And personally, I think the Houston Texans are a much favorable matchup than really any other team in the AFC. I think even the 7 seed might, beat the Texans. Whoever it may be. Next, we have the 49ers, who are 6-10, at Cardinals, who are 7-9. 49ers coming off of a loss yet again to the Lions. However, they kept it kind of close, 40-34. While the Cardinals, same thing, 13-9 loss to the Rams. Now, the key thing about this game is both teams are eliminated. Both teams can't do anything, so this is legit going to be for, 1, bragging rights, and 2, seeding, because I do believe whoever wins this game will be the third best team in the NFC West. The loser will be the fourth worst. Well, not even fourth worst, just the worst. So, I do have the 49ers winning this game, so congrats if that stands true. Next, we have the Chiefs and Broncos. Chiefs 15-1. They come off of a win on Christmas, 29-10 to the Steelers, while the Broncos come off of a 30-24 overtime loss to the Bengals. Key thing to note for this game is Chiefs, they have locked up the 1 seed, so they're going to be resting their starters. They've already announced. So we don't have to expect anything from that. While the Broncos, a win would put them in, a loss could put them in, depending on, what happens with the Broncos and Dolphins. So the Broncos either need to win or they need the Dolphins and Bengals to lose in order to make it in. With that being said, with the Chiefs resting their starters, I am going to take the Denver Broncos. Moving on to our next one, we have the Seahawks and Rams. Seahawks 9-7 at Rams 10-6. The Seahawks coming off of a 6-3 win, while the Rams coming off of a win as well, which was enough to put them at 10-6, which is just barely enough to clinch their division, prove strength of victory. That is an insane tiebreaker to go into, but the fact that the Rams got it done, they did. I do have the Seahawks winning this game, so the Rams, the Rams have announced they are resting their starters. However, in my opinion, I think the 5, 6, and 7, I think this is a really tough playoffs for the NFC. So I don't really think seeding matters outside of the 1 seed. And when the Rams have, and the top 4 seeds, especially the 1 seed, when the Rams have already clinched up, one of the top 4 seeds getting a home game, I don't really think the rest matters. So the Rams, I understand why they're resting starters, but I do think it's going to unfortunately cause you to lose. And if, once again, my predictions stand true, you are going to drop from the 3 to the 4 seed. Moving on to our final 425 game, we have the 8-8 Dolphins at the 4-12 Jets. The Dolphins coming off of a 20-3 win, while over the Browns, while the Jets coming off of a blowout loss to the Bills. The key thing to note here is the Jets are eliminated. They are just fighting for draft position, while the Dolphins, if they win and the Denver Broncos lose, the Dolphins are in. So with a lot to play for on this game, I have the New York Jets winning. The Jets, I don't know why. I just think they're going to play spoiler, especially after having such a bad game last week. I think it would be super funny for them to all of a sudden play really well and knock the Dolphins' playoff hopes out. Plus, last time they played each other, it went into overtime, so, who knows. And finally, the biggest game of the season, game 272. We have the 14-2 Vikings at the 14-2 Lions. Both teams coming off of wins. The Lions beating the Bears, I believe. The Vikings beating the Packers. The big thing to note about this game is whoever wins this game will not only win their division, but will win the number 1 seed. So they will get the first round bye, and so long as they win their games, the playoffs will run through their respective home stadium. The bad thing is whoever loses this game will be 14-3, will be the second best record in the NFC, and will end up being the 5 seed and might not even get to play a single home game. So it is a really brutal, schedule for both sides. One team's going to be 14-3 and get to control, where teams have to play them, while the other is going to have to, hope that top teams lose so they can get their respective share. With that being said, I have the Detroit Lions winning because, it's the Lions. Granted, the Vikings know how to win these close games, but the Lions know how to blow teams out. So if the Lions are able to blow them out, I think we're talking a different story. It's ultimately going to come down to which team's more favorable. The Lions do well blowing teams out. The Vikings do well at winning close games. So who's going to get it done? I'm going Lions. A few things to talk about. We're going to quickly talk about the team's paths to the playoffs. So looking at the AFC, we're going to go over that first. The Chiefs are the 1 seed at 15-1. They are locked in at the 1 seed. The Bills are 13-3. They are locked in at the 2 seed. The 3 seed is the Ravens, who are 11-5. They can either be locked in at the 3 seed with a win or a Steelers loss, or they can drop to the 5 seed with a loss and a Steelers win. The 4 seed is the Texans. They are locked in there. The 5 seed is the Steelers, who can either get the 3 seed with a win and a Ravens loss. They can stay the 5 seed with a win and a Ravens win, a loss and a Chargers loss, or they can drop to the 6 seed with a loss and a Chargers win. The 6 seed being the Chargers, who can jump to the 5 seed with a win and a Steelers loss. However, if the Steelers win or the Chargers lose, they remain at the 6 seed. And the 7 seed is the Broncos, which if they win, they are at the 7 seed. If they lose, they're going to have to hope the Bengals and Dolphins also lose in order to get that 7 seed. Teams who can still make it in is the Bengals and Dolphins. The Dolphins have the easiest path with a win and a Broncos loss. They would take the 7 seed. If the Bengals win, the Dolphins and Broncos lose, the Bengals would take the 7 seed. There are no other opportunities for jumping, so we're going to move on to the NFC. Every other team who I didn't say is eliminated. The 1 seed is the Detroit Lions. They are locked into the 1 or 5 seed. If they win, they get the 1 seed. If they lose, they get the 5 seed. The Eagles are locked in at the 2 seed, win or loss. The Rams are at the 3 seed. With a win or a Buccaneers loss, they get the 3 seed. With a loss and a Buccaneers win, they drop to the 4 seed. Speaking of Buccaneers at the 4 seed, if they win, they are in. If they win and the Rams lose, they jump to the 3 seed. If they lose and the Falcons win, then the Falcons are in and will get the 4 seed. But if both teams lose, then the Buccaneers still in. The 5 seed is the Vikings, who are locked in at the 1 or 5 seed. If they win, they get the 1 seed. If they lose, they go to the 5 seed. The Commanders are at the 6 seed. If they win or the Packers lose, they're at the 6 seed. If they lose and the Packers win, they drop to the 7 seed. Vice versa with the Packers. They would need to win and the Commanders lose to get the 7 seed. If either they lose or the Commanders win, they stay at the 7. And then the Falcons. They are currently outside the playoffs, but if they win and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lose, they would slide in at the 4 seed. That's the playoff pass for all of these teams. And seeding and everything. We're going to see how it shakes out. Now, the announcement I was talking about, I was going to make at the end of the video. I will be doing 2 more videos this season. I don't know if it'll be long and short form. I know for sure it will be long form. It will be power rankings and predictions. I would just be ranking the 14 playoff teams. And then for the predictions, I will be doing every single playoff game. So I will be predicting the wild card rounds, the divisional round, the championship, and the Super Bowl all in one video. The key thing is, obviously, I will keep you updated on Twitter. Yoshi_YZ. It's the same as my YouTube. I will be posting power rankings and predictions for the weeks on there. So if I get a game wrong, or once we drop down to the 8 playoff teams, I will be doing it there because there's not enough content for me to make a video out of it. So after that, we're gonna pretty much be going into Madden mode and mock draft mode. There's nothing else to really do. I don't plan on doing the UFL this season. Maybe I have a change of heart, but with work, and I didn't really get to pay attention to the UFL last year. Now that I'm going to be even more busy in real life after this season, it just makes sense to kind of stick to my roots of NFL and not really expand to UFL. But with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. I did. I will see you guys next time, which will be with the either Rams franchise of Madden or with the power rankings of the playoffs. Goodbye. Hope you enjoyed.